Hi guys, thanks for sticking with me. This is the third and final part of the Dragon series that I wanted to record as someone who, over the last few tournaments, played a dragon. They're as good as advertised, but I do think there's some nuance to them that is worth knowing. So in the last two videos, I sort of talked more about the subtlety of using dragons, how to use your own or use maneuvers to get your troops out of the way and waste their time so that they might minimize the amount of points that you get back from them, or your opponent does, sorry. And then I showed the flip inverse and the types of decisions I would make as a dragon player who was trying to maximize the amount of points that would score in a game that was a very sort of hit and miss game where we weren't going in up against each other with our big things. This is the opposite. So the point of taking one of these enormous units and putting so much into them is to have the option sometimes of just smashing your opponent. And I think that might seem obvious to a lot of you, but it's not necessarily because there is a level of risk, and that's what makes Warhammer and Warhammer the Old World so great, is that, you can whiff and you can get bogged down, and in that sense, you can lose the game, especially if you're playing something like a dragon or you've invested like maybe 500 points in a unit, and that unit isn't able to score its points back or could lose its points, and you pretty much lose the game at that point. So just wanted to point out the type or show how you might arrive at a particular decision and give a few examples of what to do. And in this case, if you look at the board, I was playing against Wood Elves. The Wood Elf list had a Treeman Ancient opposed to me, but otherwise nothing that was particularly threatening in the sense that like the Achievement Ancient was the level 4 as well, and it didn't have its own Forest Dragon or say another level 4 that might do something like Miasmic Mirage me or get in my way. There wasn't a lot of chaff either. So I won the first turn, and I think it's valuable to sort of show sometimes you just go for it. So I was able to measure the 20-inch march and see that it got me into the forest. By getting into the forest, I'm able to see everything beyond the forest. So in the past videos, I'd sort of shown expand your arc. It might seem very simplistic to say yeeting forward 20 inches on a march is the strategy, but there are other options. You could easily, this was the last thing I deployed. I could put it on a wing, fold down a series of elves over one after the other and come in from the flank. And sometimes that's the best way to play, as I think you might have seen in the last game where both me and my opponent did that. In this game, however, I have a huge advantage and I should press it. And so I've gone straight at this Treeman, trying to make sure that I keep it in my arc. So it's going to be hard for the Treeman to move out of the way. It's not very mobile. It's got a low movement compared to me. And if I can win this, not only if I win this combat, I'm probably going to win the game, but if I get into combat, I'm shutting off that level 4 dispelling as well, which is really important. And we've made a video of in the past. So in this one, I just went straight forward. You can see that on the next turn, my opponent's moved some things. This is a tree singing to the template to the other side of the forest. And roughly, like these units are still my way, but I've just decided to keep going. And over a number of turns, the Ancient was able to have a triple save at times with regen, full plate, and an oaken shield from battle magic. It took me a long time to kill it, but eventually I did win here and am able to restrain and reform and pick up one more unit. At the same time, the rest of the game was pretty drawish. My Sisters of Avalon killed a lot of things, but I couldn't kill his tree spirit. So making sure that I just won this combat at the start of the game was critical to the list design advantage I suppose I had in this matchup. Remembering that this was a competitive tournament. Then I just wanted to show you too another game from the tournament where a my dragon, which was sadly impetuous for this event, had been brought chasing this group of scouts here for the first three turns, but had finally shaken free. And importantly too, these are the key units that are going to win my opponent the game. So I need to make sure that I'm just threatening them and that I'm able to attack. And while this crystal column here can be a problem, there's a way I could be dispelling it. The dispelling is then going to open up my sight line. So that's what I've tried to do. I've given myself just a chance, and you have to play these percentages sometimes. Like while that's a Duke and the Duke has an Ogre Blade, if you're playing the Star Dragon or any big dragon, you have to decide is its role to go after their biggest thing and threaten it, or to go after the chaff and try to pick up a lot of points while you risk their biggest thing, then chomping through your army. What I worry about is when you're playing pegs, particularly, their mobility is actually greater than yours. So I think you have to try to go after it. The Duke can hit one unit, go and then 360 into any other unit at the same length. And while it doesn't have the resilience that you're going to have on top of a dragon, it has the same, probably even better output from the top of the dragon with the Ogre Blade in Virtue of Knightly Temper, which is what I think is becoming the default build as people move back to Grand Army. So in this case, the dragon, I had to keep making sure that I could threaten these units and that they would have to move out of my arc. Fortunately for me, I was able to get rid of the crystal column and get through and hit the Duke, and you can see eventually chase it over a couple of turns, I kill it. But I just wanted to show that there is still a level of decision making. When you choose to run a dragon, they are some of the most powerful things in the game. I do think that elven armies probably need them to be competitive. We've looked a lot at competitive formats on this channel, and we hope you're watching these videos because you want to get better at playing in them. In this sense, I do think if you're running it, you need to understand that the dragon is what wins or loses you the game, and that you can play them in a way that scores points, or you can play it to try to negate the biggest thing that's going on the opposing side. And I think you have to make the decision early. Deployment is going to be a factor in how you go about that. Underneath that, you're going to have to make sure that you just get stuck in. And yes, there are corner cases where your dragon might die to something like Monster Slayer or the Ogre Blade, but you're going to have to take that chance. So that's it. Thanks for sticking with it. I hope you learned something. I think dragons are part of the game and they're going to be here for a while. And as I said, it's mostly just hammer units and how to go about scoring points and to get aggressive when you need to be and make sure that you win games and aren't overthinking or outthinking yourself. Thanks again. See you later.